Hello there, my name is Andrea Parra. I'm a professor of Spanish on the teaching track in the Department of Latin American and Iberian Cultures at the University of Southern California. My presentation today will focus on integrated performance assessments and their use in the classroom and as an assessment tool. But first, an image to get us started. What is this, you might ask? This is a potato. Not just any potato, it's a Peruvian potato that is called la que hace llorar a la nuera, the potato that makes the daughter-in-law cry. If you pay attention to this presentation, you'll soon learn why. This Peruvian papa will serve as a visual leitmotif as we delve into the structure of integrated performance assessment. The very structure of the IPA aligns with three modes of communication: interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational, as outlined by ACTFL. The tasks are organized in a cluster around a particular theme or content area and create a natural progression in the acquisition and use of language in the real world. Students are provided with rich, authentic cultural input, which enables them to complete the subsequent tasks. Interpretive tasks, which might include readings, video, and/or images, can be followed by interpersonal activities based on the designated theme. IPA components might also focus on a targeted grammatical structure as well. These scaffolded sequences of activities often culminate with a presentational task, which can take the form of a written or oral text. IPAs can be designed for novice, intermediate, and advanced levels of proficiency and can be used with scoring rubrics that rate performance in terms of whether performance meets, exceeds, or does not meet expectations. So I'm going to show you an example of an IPA that I shared with my Spanish students this year using a Google form. As you can see, the Google form begins with some pre-reading questions to activate student knowledge. One question asks about their familiarity with Peruvian food, and the second question asks about whether they've ever tried dishes such as liver or kidneys. And this usually elicits some expressions of visceral distaste, no pun intended, or outright disgust. So those first questions are followed by a reading on Palmiro Campo, who's a well-known Peruvian chef who specializes in sustainable cooking. This text is borrowed from the student's textbook. It's a very brief text, and it's followed by an overall comprehension question, and then I asked them to identify some English cognates from the text just to boost their vocab in Spanish. In part C, the students will view a video on sustainable cooking in Peru, but before they view the video, I have them look at the true-false questions in order for them to become familiar with what they're listening for. And then, as you can see, I set up the true-false questions as cierto and other, so that if the sentence is false in their opinion, they can provide a justification here with information from the text. Google Forms are also very handy for incorporating images, and this is useful in adding to students' vocab. And then finally, down below, we have our friendly Peruvian papa. Sorry about that. And in the video, a farmer explains how a woman, if she would like to marry into a particular family, may be asked to peel a potato such as this. So if she's unable to peel it, then she cannot marry. So this kind of cultural information, which can be quite humorous, adds to the student engagement. They're also already very interested in food as a general topic, But then when we couple this topic with Peruvian cuisine, sustainable cooking in the Andean region of Peru, it takes it to a whole other sociolinguistic level. So students will work in pairs or in groups and review their answers before we review them as a class. And then we will move on to the composition, which students will do individually. And here you can see that we have a prompt, a detailed prompt that is written in Spanish. And also there's a list of targeted vocab that I would like them to use in their composition. And in this case, it's focusing on what problem they would solve in the world if they could. So they're using hypotheticals, and they, as I said, they work individually, and then they submit the composition. So in order for me to check the overall completion of these activities, I use the spreadsheet option to look at their responses, and then I can take a look at their compositions in particular and give them ideas. I can reach out to them individually, send them an email, and ask them perhaps to review certain verb tenses or to use more transitions in their compositions. I can also review this in class as a group. We can share some of these on a PowerPoint presentation, of course, in an anonymous way, so that students aren't put on the spot, but they also learn from each other's compositions and from their mistakes as well. So now let me return to my presentation, and I'm going to speak very briefly about how we use a similar format in our Blackboard exams, and this is true for our entire program. We continue to use the IPA format, but we eliminate some components. For example, we eliminated the pre-activity activation prompts and the targeted grammar exercises, and as well as the justification for false statements. And this was due in large part because we had standard 15-minute exams. When we first moved to the online environment during the pandemic, students were quite anxious about taking their exams online. So we sought to alleviate some of that stress by eliminating those components. And since we've returned to the classroom, we continue to administer exams online, and that is due to both student and instructor preference. Although we did decide to have the students complete the composition component by writing on paper in class, due to the fact that there was some suspicion that students were using online translators while completing the compositions in Blackboard. So that is one change that we made. So as I said, the Blackboard exams are very similar in format to the IPA. One of the tools that we have used most readily in Blackboard, however, are the electronic rubrics, especially for the composition section, that can be made available to students upon grading. And these rubrics can be quite detailed, and it's quite easy to set them up, and it's really very handy for both the instructor and the students in order to identify those areas where students might need more work. As you can see, the rubric is broken down into 6 different components for a total of 50 points. Here's a more legible list. So there are 4 components: task completion, comprehensibility, vocab, and language control, that are worth 10 points each. And then the level of discourse and mechanics are worth 5 points each. In addition to the electronic rubrics, the administration of the exam via Blackboard makes the following tools readily available. We have overall exam statistics with information about the average, the range, grade distribution, etc. And the teacher can choose to make these statistics available to the class, or sometimes I just do a screenshot of this and I send it to the entire class as an announcement. Also available is item analysis to identify faulty or easy questions, and that can be useful in order to tweak an exam or eliminate faulty items altogether. So as I stated earlier, we now have the composition component written in class on paper. And so here is an example of the rubric that we use for the paper exam. But again, professors can also opt to use the electronic rubric in Blackboard to grade the composition if they so choose. So to recap the structure of the IPA, it's a cluster of tasks around a given theme, a pre-reading or listening activity that activates students' prior knowledge usually begins the exercise. Then there's often an interpretive text, video or audio, followed by comprehension and reflection questions. There can be a targeted grammatical or vocab exercise. And then oftentimes there is a final presentational task with a detailed prompt, such as a written composition or oral presentation. As far as the advantages of the Google form go, the spreadsheet option allows for checking the overall completion of the assignment. The review of the compositions enables the professor to identify common errors that can be addressed with the entire class. It also allows for the identification of particular problems with individual students that might require a one-on-one follow-up, and the Google form can be set up as a test as well. As far as advantages of the Blackboard exam with the IPA format go, Blackboard makes exam statistics readily available. You have the option to look at item analysis to identify faulty or easy questions. And the electronic rubrics allow for easy evaluation of both individual questions and compositions. So thank you for listening to my presentation today. I hope no one was brought to tears by this presentation, and I wish you luck with designing your IPAs. Please feel free to contact me. You have my email, parra@usc.edu, and it's been my pleasure to present today. Thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of the conference.